Hello, this is Aoife Dean, and this is the Happy Weight podcast. And today I am so lucky because I have a leading hypnotherapist in the field of weight loss internationally. His name is Tom Nicoli. So I was lucky enough to be at a seminar last week, and I saw him speak, and I thought he was amazing. And then unfortunately for him, he emailed me back and then I roped him into being on my podcast. So thank you so much for being here, Tom.
Eve, it's my pleasure. It's always a great when I have an opportunity to share any information.
Oh my God, that's so good. And I'm guessing all the questions I ask you, you'll have answered them all 1,000 times before. But I feel I was telling you a little bit about my own business and the clients that I deal with and their struggles. And I think many of them might not have come across hypnotherapy. So, how do you like to explain it on the most easiest level?
Okay. What people refer to as hypnosis is something that goes on constantly. We could call it influence, persuasion, power of suggestion. So the simplest definition is we create some sort of change using suggestions while in a trance state. But that last part is what gets people a little unsettled. But anytime you were ever zoned out, spaced out, even in a busy mall looking at something and you got startled, you were in a light level trance. So it's just the not consciously thinking, not being consciously aware. You slip into trance, like highway trance. You drive and, oh my God, there's my exit. When we're in that state, we're open to suggestions. That's why advertising works and media works and why you should shut the TV off because you're being influenced. So we could call it influence or persuasion. Or when a doctor says, take this and your pain goes away and it's a sugar pill, it's a placebo, but it works because the suggestion was accepted by the subconscious mind and created the outcome. So that's
Uh,
really all it is. So most people, they have these expectations, even when you explain it clearly. And when you're done with your session, you say, so do you think you were hypnotized? No, why not? I heard everything you said. Well, I hope so. I don't know. I just felt relaxed. Okay. And then a week later, they come back going, I can't believe what's happening. I know.
okay.
So it goes on all day long.
Okay. And so I think things then like stage hypnosis and the hypnosis done on TV, I suppose that can have two effects on people that they're either wildly impressed or it makes them think that hypnosis is something to be scared about
Right.
and that they're not in control. So what's the whole situation there
Okay.
about kind of
Well,
control?
two parts there. We are not in control in any way, shape, or form. And I make that real easy to people. I say, okay, stop breathing. Well, I can't. That's right. That's how simple it is to know you're not in control. Or why are you even in my office? Or now it's online with me. If you're in control, go stop doing what you're doing. Stop eating like that. Start exercising. Do what you know you're supposed to do. I can't. I don't know why. So the what isn't the issue. It's why. And the why is emotional. And that's why when we consciously think and figure things out, it doesn't work because the brain can only function on logic. But emotion is illogical. And that's where the conflict comes in and people get stuck. So when you see these demonstrations, the thing is you don't understand. There are people who have temporary amnesia where they're like, what show? What do you mean an hour's gone by? What happened? And other people will ask, why the hell did I just do that? You will only do what your ethics and morals already allow you to do. You can't be
Okay.
suggested to do things you normally wouldn't do under the right circumstances.
Yeah, I think I saw that in one of your YouTube videos that if it was the case that, I don't know, you could hypnotize someone to do terrible things, that everyone would be becoming a hypnotist and, making people do terrible things. But like you say, it's still up to your own limits, isn't it, as such?
Yes. And that's why somebody in my profession, when you're better skilled, you can work with an individual and get better results because if you're not skilled enough, you could deliver all these suggestions, direct suggestions. Here's what you're going to do, or here's what you do now. Bloop, error, because the subconscious won't accept it because that suggestion is against whatever the subconscious is in the belief of. See, every issue we have serves a purpose to some degree. And the number one purpose Smoking, drinking, drugging, any holic, workaholic is a distraction. And it's a distraction from what we think and feel. So the biggest thing I help my clients do is start addressing whatever comes up in the way of feelings and uncomfortableness and discomfort in that manner, not to be distracted from it and to ignore it because it doesn't go away. So feelings are like the fog. You can't go around it. You got to go through it. Sometimes we can go through it pretty quickly. Sometimes we ease our way through, but that's the only way you get to the other side.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also the kind of computer error, I have seen that so many times because like the only way I was able to lose weight myself was to frame a very positive story of the way forward. That
Mhm.
it was going to be easy, it was going to be lovely, all those things. Whereas I know talking to clients, kind of even the suggestion that you could be happy as you're letting go of the weight is like, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
they've just done so many diets where it's pain, it's hardship, it's grueling, thin people are boring,
Mhm.
they're restricted, all those things. So that just what you said there reminded me of, like, so that their inner working has a big problem with being happy as you lose weight.
And that's where the work is done inside.
Mhm.
The answer isn't out here. And all of the effort that people put in, unfortunately, they don't get the results because they're using force and struggle called willpower. And if willpower worked, we'd all be who we want to be, but we're not. So we need to work. So think of your conscious thinking as the keyboard to your computer. Type all the commands you want. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. The subconscious is the hard drive. And when we work at the subconscious level, people can't even believe what's going on when they consciously experience the change.
Yeah, exactly. Because with willpower as well, I have a big problem with willpower because I think it's only at best temporary. Like, because it is like 95% of your habits are subconscious. So, you feel the temperature, you grab a coat before you go out of the building. You're not like, oh, what temperature is it? Do you know what I mean? It's all natural. So equally, that's kind of, I think, how maybe all our body functions need to be, that it's an unconscious, natural process to choose a comfortable action, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
mm. And so, Tom, you were saying as well, oh my God, you were on this show in the States, Dateline NBC, and
Oh, yeah.
like, you'll have to remind me, but it was a very interesting concept for a show. So they basically pitted against a lot of weight loss methods against each other. So there was like, can you tell me more about that?
Well, there were six people going to their 25th high school reunion, and they all wanted
Oh,
to lose
wow.
weight. So there were
Yeah.
these approaches: Slim Fast, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Hypnosis. There was a coach, Jorge Cruz, that some woman used, and then another woman just ran. That was it. And if she got to the point where she could run the marathon, they were going to send her family and her to Hawaii to run the Hawaiian Marathon. And she never ran before, so that was a task. They gave me a pastry chef. Thank you very much.
So you were already on the back foot.
But it wasn't as if they were setting me up because five of those six people wanted to use the hypnosis.
Oh,
And what he did
wow.
was, percentage wise, he did better than anyone. In America, it's pounds. So he released 40 pounds. He did it
Right.
without any of the angst. Like one gentleman said, I wake up hungry. I go to bed hungry. I'm hungry right now. And this is what I get to eat. My
Oh
guy
my God,
just
love
went,
him.
I don't know. I just don't want to.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So zero willpower.
See, that's the beauty. Even when you make the switch at the subconscious level and you say, I'm going to eat this crap tonight, you don't. Your conscious intention is to do it, but the subconscious goes, "So we don't do that." Or, I'm going to eat healthier. The intention doesn't matter. Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? The subconscious goes, we don't do that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
what's
Oh my.
controlling everything. That's why control is a red flag in my world. We're not in control with anything. We learn how to interact and manage the part that's in control.
And for daily continuous choices, we're always going to choose the path of least resistance. So for daily continuous choices like eating, there's just no way that you could put effort into every choice. That's not
No,
sustainable.
no, you drive
Yeah.
yourself crazy.
Yeah, like you will or you won't believe me, but I kind of think that I hypnotize myself out of my own weight problems because
Sure.
I suppose I lost whatever 3 multiplied by 14 pounds is. um, and it was just what you said there reminded me that it was almost like a crossroads of I knew what I would usually do at 9 p.m. on an evening, and then I'm like, yeah, like I
Right,
could, but
right,
nah, I
right.
won't bother. And that's kind of the place you want to get to, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Instead of, oh, but I really want it.
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
life can
So,
be a lot easier.
yeah, and so then the pastry chef. So obviously that meant huge things for your name and your business and people's interest in you.
You know, I almost can't believe it. But when people say, and oh, this happened. I just spoke at an online summit. And I mean, I do it a lot. So I spoke at another online summit, the Global Hypnotherapy Summit. And the woman hosting it said, when I was doing, 20, 22 sessions a week, I was burnt out. And I freaking laughed. After Dateline and national exposure, which also led to international notoriety, I was doing 105 1 hour sessions a week, 15 1 hour sessions a day, 7 days a week, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. for months. So when people say, I'm burnt out, I'm like, really? Really?
Yeah,
Now, I'm not saying that's healthy, but it's also because I didn't know systems and business. Plus, it was, back before YouTube and Google and all this stuff too. But life has changed in the way now where it's so much easier to be able to do the work we do and not have to grind it out like that. But that's what happened because they kept coming. They just kept coming. They kept coming. It was amazing. It was just insane.
I
But
think it's a really cool sign though, because I used to be a dietitian that worked in a hospital. And like it wasn't the worst job in the world. It was 8 to 4, but I used to come home wrecked, like wrecked.
mhm.
And now with my own clients, my own business, basically the more clients I have, the more energy I have because I love it. So I think it's also a sign you're doing something right if you have the ability to put in those hours and enjoy it.
Right. Because if you have resistance, which when you show up at a job, that word, I haven't had a job in a long time. But when you show up somewhere where you really don't want to be there, you're in immediate resistance. You're energetically behind the eight ball already. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they say find something you're passionate about, something you love, and then find how to monetize it.
Yeah, yeah, my goodness. And then we were chatting about this last week as well in terms of secondary gain. So the
Mm.
benefits behind sustaining a weight problem. And obviously, like it's never actually happened to me, but you would imagine people would get defensive when you suggest that. I've actually never had anyone be defensive when you suggest that there may actually be a benefit to their weight problem. And perhaps that's why they have it,
Oh,
some small benefit somewhere,
they don't
a
get
hidden one.
defensive. They don't get defensive at all. They get curious. They're like, okay, what could it be? It's
Yeah.
like,
And I,
how common is it that a woman gains weight when she had an uncomfortable experience and she thinks it keeps guys away? That I reframe that and I go, have you ever heard of chubby chasers or BBW, big beautiful woman? There are
yeah,
guys, if you lost any weight, they wouldn't want to be with you. And what it does is it keeps the woman away. And
yes,
you're not hiding because you're bigger. So there's
yes.
always a purpose behind anything the subconscious does, even if it's killing you. There's a purpose. There's some reason why it does what it's doing.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I notice when I'm chatting with clients about this, sometimes actually the more examples I give, the more that they resonate with them. Because
Mhm.
didn't you have one, Tom, about like a woman kind of an affair or something, having an affair?
Oh, okay. This woman I had met in a restaurant that I used to frequent, and I was hanging out with a bunch of women there at the wine bar. And she came in and did some session work. And the girlfriends had told me she used to be the hottest one in the group, and we hated going out with her. And I went, really? They're like, yeah. So when we did the work, she became very clear on her motivating reason. And when we discussed it, she said, well, I'm not happy in my relationship. And I know, not, I kind of think, I know that if I got hot again, she said, I'll cheat.
Yeah.
So, in order to not break up the marriage, she stayed heavy. So I said,
Yeah.
well, you got some serious thinking to do and some communicating to do in your relationship, or remain unhealthy and unhappy.
Yeah. It's nuts because, like you say, if it's a kind of an emotional base or something, it's not actually logical because I think
Mhm.
that's the thing. It's a really weird way to go around it because a beautiful woman is a beautiful woman. Do you know what I mean? Like there's bigger women that are far sexier than
Oh, yeah.
some skinny women by far. So it's like it's a flawed theory, first of all. But I've also heard it from clients the other way as well, in terms of they might be single and somewhere inside happy that they're single, I suppose. And their friends and their sisters and everyone are like, "Oh, lose some weight and you'll get out there and you'll meet a nice man." And like they don't want to go dating. Do you know what I mean? So if they lost weight and they were all, gorgeous and getting all this attention, they might actually have to get into a relationship and they maybe don't want to.
Well, see, there's the power of suggestion right there. That's the hypnotic process. The truth is, that's BS. She can choose to be however healthy and fit and attractive as she wants to be, and with her mouth not be in a relationship and say no.
Yeah.
One thing doesn't
Yeah.
mean another, but the
I know.
suggestion was see if you get thin, that's what's going to happen.
I know. I know. I also had someone say that they've been overweight for a long time, and but in their mind since teenager years they were saying, I would be fantastic at sport, but this weight, like, I can't because of the weight. But one day I'll lose weight and then I'll be amazing at sport. So there's that little fear of what would happen if they lost the weight and they were no good at sport. You
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
it's
The reasons
strange.
go
And
on and on and on. There are a lot of common similar reasons and motivators, but sometimes I just go, wow. See, you would never figure, blank out. That would have never been figured out. It's like I think I shared with you one. Almost every news station, TV station, radio station in the Boston, Massachusetts area had covered me back during those days. And there was couple of sisters in their 40s, and they did really, really well. And they filmed this on TV. So one of them came back after about 3 months. She said, "I'm eating pasta like it's my job." Okay. So we did some work, and what came out of it was when she was a little girl and she would get sick, her mom would keep her home and she'd make her macaroni with butter and sit and watch I Love Lucy with her on
mm,
television.
mm,
So that macaroni was this connection between mom's love and care. And when pasta was removed from her system, from her, eating processes, the mind resorted back to it because it had an emotional association. And
of
once we cleared that
course.
all up, she was fine.
Oh, nice. Did she get to eat pasta again, though? Hopefully, did she?
Well, yeah, yeah. We got to work it out where it didn't have to be her job to eat it.
Oh, thank God.
It
I
could
was
be
like,
her
please
choice.
don't say you hypnotized her off
Yeah, it could be
pasta.
her choice to eat it. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. That sounds like a happy ending. And I don't know, were we discussing this last week, but people can almost have a set point of weight that they're happy with, can't they? That,
Mhm.
like, it's a safe zone. And I don't know, have you come across this, but it can almost be down to the pound.
Mhm.
That, like, that is the weight, and they might go on lots of diets, they lose weight, but they'll always go home to
Mhm.
that perceived safe weight, which is actually possibly an unhealthy weight. But have you had that in your experience too with clients?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can imagine literally thousands, thousands, thousands. My youngest client was 5. My oldest was 91. And I've had people fly from halfway around the world and take up residence to do work. So I've worked with so many people in so many different walks of life, from the mom with 3 kids and 2 jobs to the multimillionaire. So
Yeah.
I've just heard it all, but we are similar in a lot of respects. But then sometimes that oddball thing comes up too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just in terms of set point, it's interesting also because it happens in anorexia too, where people could kind of be making efforts, regaining weight, and then freak out
Hmm.
and lose the weight and go back to their set point. And then just like a little, I suppose, personal story. I like it actually ended up being quite a positive thing for me because I used manic manifest, they call, I when I had a weight problem, I used to obsess, and I used to write down everything I ate that day and, do affirmations and all of that stuff. And of course, then, following kind of tools from personal development, sometimes a good strategy is go away and get happy in every other area of your life.
Yep.
Just make yourself happy. Like,
Yep.
go for all your dreams, do all the things that you need to be happy. And then actually the area of your life that's not working out might just work out. And what was funny was maybe around 8 years later, after, like, when I was no longer at all in a bad place with my weight, I never weighed myself, never wrote down my food anymore, never obsessed. And I had to go to the doctor one day and he weighed me and I was the exact weight down to, because I had put X point, I won't say the actual weight, but X point five, 0.5 kilograms. So it was down to the 100 gram I had written over and over again that I would become that weight. And then 8 years later, when I was at the doctor's, that's the exact weight it was. So clearly my unconscious had
Yep.
guided me there.
Yep.
In its own way, in its own time.
Absolutely. And like you said, one of the dumbest things people do is they weigh themselves when they're adults. Your clothes are all you need to put on to know if you've gained or lost. And this is a good story. So Victoria came into me on her 5th session or so, 6th, something like this. She plops in the chair and I go, okay, this is going to be fun. Vicky, what's the matter? Nothing. I go, look, what are we, married? What's the matter? Nothing. I go, we can do this all day until you tell me what's the matter. I haven't lost any weight. I said, okay. What do you mean, okay? That's what I'm here for. I go, no. Let me remind you, hypnosis helps you change thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, your body will react to however your body will react to it. However, aren't you the girl who told me you're eating really healthy? Still am. Haven't lost weight. Aren't you the girl who said you're going to the gym? You actually like it? Yep. I haven't lost weight, Tom. So I had my trump card. I said, and aren't you the woman last week who told me you're down 2 dress sizes, but I haven't lost any weight?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, here's 6 pounds of fat, and here's 6 pounds of muscle. Of course you weigh the same, but your body's smaller. I said, and this is what we call mass hypnosis. This is absolutely hypnosis, where you are so caught up in the fact that if the scale didn't change, your body didn't change. The scale needs to be thrown away. Your clothes, you're down 2 sizes. What is wrong with you? I didn't say what's wrong. But this is how caught up people are. So I tell people, you do not diet, because diet is a word that got ruined. You could be on a fat diet. You could be on a sugar diet. It's whatever you consume. That's your diet. So you learn to eat healthier. You throw away the scale, you close your gauge, and then I tell them this. It hasn't been your fault. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, consciously. And I'll ask, well, what day did you wake up? And you said, today my ass gets bigger and I'm going to feel worse about myself. Well, never. Because consciously it hasn't been your fault, not your intention. But it is your responsibility and you're here. And that's how I start with a person when we do a weight loss program. So we start to change words, we change patterns that they're caught up in, and it's a freedom. It's just a freedom, like what you did. You just let go. And when you surrender and let go, then stuff will happen. But we call this getting in your own way. When we keep thinking and overthinking and keep planning, that's getting in the way. We need to get out of the way and let everything stop working.
Yeah, I've had that. I even had that actually yesterday with a client, like in terms of, friends have been complimenting him, like, or her, complimenting her. It's so evident in loads and loads of ways. And I think she jumped on the scales, and I don't know, it wasn't what she said, but all the other indicators are there. And I'm always reminding people, why do you want to lose weight? It's like, I want to feel physically better. I want to have a nicer relationship with food. I don't want to be obsessing about calories and food and weight all the time. I want to fit into nicer clothes or other clothes. And I'm like, or I want to feel more confident. And then I'm like, well, tick, 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 tick. like you're on the road with all of those things,
Yeah.
all of those things. So, sometimes I think it's that little thing that, like, it's so unfamiliar for people to be happy with their weight. If, like, I know from my story, a lot of my clients, they grew up with a weight problem. They grew up with dieting moms or whatever. So it's never really been an option that you could just be happy about the whole thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Mm,
And that's where it
yeah.
all begins. If you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then everything else is going to suffer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so there's something there that made me, oh yeah, the woman who plonked down in the chair. So that made me think, though, would there not be such a thing as kind of, well, I suppose you were already working with her, that was in the middle of it, but who would you say should not go for hypnosis? Like, who do you think is not a good candidate,
There's
for
no such
anyone
thing.
listening now?
There's no such thing. The only people that shouldn't be in the office are people with an IQ so low they can't comprehend. They just can't be part of the process. So that really
Hmm.
doesn't happen. Somebody, and this would be like in a stage demonstration. If somebody's too intoxicated, they can't comprehend and follow along, so they're out. And then anyone resistant. So the thing is, you have to be there on your own accord. If like I've had people say, well, my wife bought me the package, the program, and she's doing the program, so I'm doing it too. Like, you should leave. You should
Oh,
absolutely only be here if
100%.
you want to be here, not because somebody else said so. Like, I'm certified in pediatric hypnosis, and I've had kids come in, like teenagers, and I get a feeling, and I ask the parents to leave the room. I say, listen to me, just between you and I, do you really want to be here? Nope. All right, no problem. I call the parents and I tell them to go home.
I know, I know. I've learned the hard way with teenagers. I'm like, if they're not
Or
the bill
anybody.
payer, if their mom's involved, it's like, it's game over. Waste of your time. Yeah, yeah. My goodness. And then, so kind of, I suppose, have you ever had a client that's kind of, one eye open, kind of afraid of what you're doing
No,
to them?
because when you're skilled enough and you understand how this goes, it's what we call the pre-talk. In your first session, you explain this very clearly. You remove any issues that may be there. And even still, sometimes people are a little apprehensive still. But if you, or when you, language, when you provide a good pre-talk, then people are on board and you're like, oh, that's what it's like. Okay, sure. And then we get going. No problem.
I think that's another misconception about hypnotherapy. I think people think that you just turn up to an office and then, like, boom, crazy stuff happens or
Right?
something.
I had a magic wand. They do $5,000 sessions.
Oh my goodness, gee. And then, so how would you say someone should, like, is there anything that you would say that people can do in their own time?
There
Um,
was see, even people in the profession, the mistake they make is they don't have a hypnotist or a coach. Big mistake, because
mhm,
we're all human.
mhm.
We can do so much with personal techniques, self hypnosis, but when you do visualize, the idea is to match the visualization as if it's already happening. And I mean, there are six vital keys that I share with people. So when you visualize, one problem is people see themselves. Like, I worked with a celebrity's mom, and this is a Hollywood celebrity, and her mom wanted to lose weight to go to the wedding. So she goes, "Yeah, I'm picturing myself put the dress on." I said, "Stop. You're looking at somebody who looks like you. If you were actually putting the dress on, what would it be like?" She goes, "Well, I'd put it on." Well, that's how you visualize it. You visualize it from the first person point of view, as if you're actually doing it. Not you watch yourself walk down some steps. You're looking down the steps as you walk down them.
Yeah.
So also detail and specifics, and like, people are very general. I want a new car. Okay, you got a 1942 car. It's new to you. So be specific. So the subconscious is like a brilliant 2-year-old. Don't just tell it to go get dressed. You don't know what the hell it's going to put on. Tell it how to get dressed. Be specific. Like, I'll
That,
even talk time with people and I'll say the specific date. Like, what's today? I would say, and as you're sitting here now on June 22nd, 2022, allow yourself to just reflect back. Not as you're sitting here today. No, what's the date? Very, very specific, very detailed.
Yeah, yeah. And like an example of that, I suppose, is that technically, people can be always, I don't know, dreaming of losing weight, losing weight, losing weight. And technically their dreams are coming true because they've spent 40 years trying to lose weight. And they lose 8 pounds and then they gain 10 pounds and then they lose. So they are always losing weight, but so it's not actually losing weight we want.
No.
It's the end product, isn't it?
It's the ability. Well, see, when it keeps coming back, it's because the issues haven't been addressed. You see,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, one of the biggest problems, especially in America, I mean, Americans have to be first in everything. We're an obese country. It's crazy. There are people who have not eaten real food in a very long time. And if you want to know what food is, just think before 1950, when the first processed edible product was manufactured. Food's not manufactured, called the TV dinner. Since then, over 150,000 edible products have been manufactured, like a Dorito or a cheese curl or whatever the hell is in a package or a can up and down the aisles, right? A hunter, a fisherman, or a farmer, that's it that can bring food to your table. So think of the Knights of the Round Table and the feasts at the castle. There was poultry, there was beef and lamb and animals, there was fish, and there was produce before Monsanto messed with it. So real food comes from the earth. End of story. Because
Yeah, and
real food was once alive. And the reason why we eat is in order to continue our energetic self. And if it wasn't once alive, then the energy isn't converted into energy. It's just,
yeah.
we call it dead calories, or well, dead calories, empty calories. So you're
Mm.
bringing all this intake, and then you eat more because your body's saying, all right, fine, put that aside, let's eat, give me some fuel. So anything that was once alive is converted into energy. All that other stuff can't be converted into energy. It's flat, it's dead, it's empty.
That's funny because I explain it in pretty much an
Mhm.
identical way, because I think if you're eating, Doritos or whatever, your body's like, yeah, 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 keep going. Where's the food? Where's the food? Is there
Right,
nutrients coming soon? Like,
right.
so that's why like packaging can really kind of cause a lot of problems too, because say the packer will say, oh, a portion of Doritos is, a handful or something like that, but your body is like, well, I'm going to keep going until I get something out of it. And of course that point never comes. And I think all of this leads back to what you said earlier, in terms of, it's all about, you said something like, it's all about your relationship with yourself,
Mhm.
because I don't think anyone feels bloody fantastic after, like, a big tub of Pringles and
Right,
a liter of ice cream. Like, no one is like, woo, 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 I feel
right.
fantastic after that. Like, we all feel gross after eating loads and loads of junk. So,
So you're
so,
eating
so,
regret.
yeah. And like you say as well, kind of, it's nearly a case of, we all know deep down, like, everyone knows deep down exactly what to do. So it's like the blocks are always other things, really, as such, aren't they?
Mhm. You know,
Hmm.
I have a depth model, DEPTH, when it comes to this weight loss thing. The organization I'm certified through, they asked me to go on an American speaking tour. And I thought, what am I going to tell all my colleagues? I just do my work. So I had to think about, how do I do this? Well, I don't think that much. I mean, I was a couple of grades ahead in school, but I'm not that smart. So I just sat and asked. I was like, okay, what am I going to tell these people? And the word depth came into my head, and I went, oh, hypnotists love that, right? Deeper. Ooh. I go, what do you mean? Denial, emotional pain, truth, and honesty. So people
Ooh.
have an emotional pain, right? And they know they're going to do something about it. So what do? They use willpower, force, and struggle. Can't make it happen, and they got to live with themselves. So they start rationalizing and justifying, which is denial. Then we
Mm.
have to get into the truth and honesty, really expose this stuff, raw emotion, and then help them. If not, the cycle continues and
God,
continues.
I have to write that down. Can you? Because what does it stand for again?
Denial, emotional pain, truth, and honesty. So the emotional pain is the issue. They realize, this is how they feel. They don't like it, and they try to do something about it, but it's with conscious effort. And this is the problem. and then they can't get the results they want, or they can't even do it long enough to get the results. And if they do and they last long enough, they go back. The pattern's still in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they start the river of denial. Well, I'm not as big as my sister. Well, your sister's 400 pounds.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
the 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 denial is a real, like, that's a real thing, because also I kind of think it's I just remember with me, I could blame that I was on a course of steroids. I'd autoimmune disease. A lot of my family members are overweight. It's in my genes, my genetics, I had a list as long as my arm. And in a way, isn't that really like justifying why you need to stay at this weight almost,
no,
isn't it?
it's not justification. Blame is not taking responsibility. It's not my
Okay.
fault. So it's like
Yeah.
this. Even if you've been molested in your life, it's yours. Now you can blame and stay stuck, or you can own it and now do something with it. Do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So once,
Yeah.
no matter what the issue is, yeah, if somehow for some reason you're taking certain medications, weight is an issue, fat's an issue. And when we say weight, we're talking fat, not bone density, fat, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
fat release is weight loss. So there are repercussions here with some medications and such. But even that, when we do this kind of work, there are people who are shedding their meds. They don't need them anymore because this is the greatest chemical factory going, and people just don't know how to interact with it. So what happens is we get to a point where we don't know the answer, so we blame. And I've used the blame game, but once I stopped and I took responsibility for whatever was going on in my life, things changed.
This is it. Blame is only ever temporary relief, isn't it? Like, when
I'm going to
people
say it
blame
this way.
their.
This is what I tell my clients: you have to own your shit,
Mm-hmm.
and when you
Mm-hmm.
do, then you can do whatever you want with it because it's yours.
Yeah.
You're not borrowing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not stuck. You're not
Mhm.
stuck. Yeah. My goodness. That's so interesting. And then I love the way you say release. That's a really nice way of putting it, because it sounds like it was waiting in the wings to go anyway. And I like that thinking too, because I think a lot of the chat out there for weight is that almost you're going against the grain. You're
Mm.
like, fight the fat, beat the bulge, all of that stuff, which I think is concocting the story again, that
Yeah.
it's hard work, it's effort, it's unnatural, it's, going against your body, when actually chances are it's exactly what your body wants to do. Like, your body doesn't want the junk, your body doesn't want to hold on to this
That's right.
weight. So release is a lovely way of putting it, I think.
Well, the reason why release is the best word is because we're conditioned subconsciously with the word lose. You lose your mind, you lose your way home, you lose your keys. Anything you lose, you want to find. But anything that you no longer want, you release, you throw away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
throwing it away, we're releasing it, we're getting rid of it. We're not losing it. I don't want to find it again. Words matter.
Yeah.
Words
Words
matter.
matter. I might borrow/steal that one, because I've
Fine.
I've I've been saying let go of, because I actually think now, looking back on, say, when I'm working with clients, but also my own story, it's actually a lot of effort to sustain a weight problem. It's to sustain the calorie load, you're obviously
Mhm.
busy eating. Binges take time, they take
Yeah,
money, they take
yeah,
shopping.
yeah.
So does constant snacking, so does all the fruit eating, all the nut eating, like all the nonstop new diets. Like,
Mhm.
it's time consuming. And then, not to mind, on an emotional level, constantly feeling guilt, constantly thinking
Oh,
about what you shouldn't have eaten yesterday and what you need to
oh,
eat tomorrow.
yeah.
It's a lot, like, it's a lot of effort on every single level. So I think letting go helps with the suggestion that, like, just let it go. You know what I mean? That it's like, once we can see it kind of differently, it's actually more work to stay as stuck as we are
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely. More thought, more energy, more action, more cost, everything you're saying to get less. So when you're more involved in life, like there are times I usually eat like one meal a day. I may have a little something after, but 4 o'clock is usually when I'll eat. But there are times I'll be doing something, or I'll be out and about, or whatever it is. I'm in my music studio playing, and I'll think, I'm pretty hungry. Oh, Jesus, it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 p.m. and I haven't eaten all day. Like, okay. Then there are times where I'll get to the end of the night and I'm like, No, fasting is really good for you. Like, yeah, just forget it. I'll just eat tomorrow, whatever. And because you're preoccupied with living rather than in your thoughts of misery.
Yeah. And you've a secure food environment. You know that if you did want to have something later, you can have it. Whereas I think that's the trap we get into is for dieting for 20 years or whatever.
Mm.
Potentially tomorrow there won't be any bread. Potentially
Yeah,
tomorrow there
yeah,
won't
yeah,
be any
yeah,
food.
yeah.
So we're in a constant state of like food scarcity where, you can't just relax and say, oh, I'll have the chocolate tomorrow, because we know how many times have we said on Monday, I'm not going to eat chocolate. So it's like, it's kind of all intertwined. And then, Tom, you said, like emotional clutter is the words
Mhm,
I've heard you use quite a bit. So
mhm.
people have this emotional clutter that they need to release. And is
Because
that like
go ahead.
an event or
Yeah.
what?
See,
Or
emotional clutter creates emotional weight. I've learned, and it took me a while to learn this. People know how to eat correctly. They know to be active, and I mean, everyone knows what to do. They just don't know why they can't, or sometimes even how to do it. So what I learned was this: whatever you are energetically gets matched physically. Okay, so that was heavy on my mind. That weighed on me forever. I've been carrying that for so long. I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. You hear all those phrases?
yeah.
Now this gets heavier. This gets bigger. Now you got to carry this. And all of those statements that people have are related to personal issues and life issues. It's very common that people eat to get full. They're looking to be fulfilled. It's like when you accomplish and you achieve, and when you fell in love, you're so energetically fed that. All right, here's the thing: spiritual, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, then physical. Physical eating, physical um, being fed physically is at the bottom of the scale. We need to be fed intellectually. We need to be fed emotionally at the top. We need to be fed spiritually in whatever way that is for the person, and then we need to feed the body. I mean, this is why you could do a 30-day fast, and people go, "You'll die." No, you'd be shocked at how healthy you will be, how much energy you will have, because you see, we are so pampered that we don't live the way this was designed. So you need to intentionally put yourself in situations of cold, in wind,
Hmm.
like wind baths, an effort. You had to hunt your food or farm your food or whatever, right? So we become so complacent and so pampered that, oh my God, it just goes downhill. So
Hmm.
we need to actually realize the way to really live and to find fulfillment, to accomplish things, to achieve things. Even when you just clean a room or you paint it, you're like, oh, that's great, and you feel great. And somebody says, hey, want to get something to eat? You're like, no, I'm good right now. Because you're being fed emotionally. If you're not fed emotionally, then you're going to find a false way to fill this void, this empty void, and food isn't going to fill it.
Yeah.
Eating is not
I
going to fill it.
yeah, I think that's why it works so well. The whole advice of like, do all the things that you've been putting off now. You know what I mean? Like I remember like I didn't want to join. I lived in London at the time. I didn't want to join a drama group, and
Mhm.
just I was waiting for the day that I'd lose more weight, or even starting a business or any of those things. Everything was like one day I lose, and it
Mhm.
was ridiculous. Now I look back on it, so ridiculous, because it wasn't even a big amount of weight by any means at that point. But I made some amazing friendships in those drama groups. They're still some of my best friends today, and I was filled up in so many other ways. And it's important. All our hobbies are important, all the things that make us feel good. Often I've had clients that they haven't dyed their hair in years. Like that's just a super achievable way to feel
Mhm.
better if you're into that side of things,
Yep.
and super easy to do, but they've been putting it off because they don't deserve it yet until they lose weight. And it just what you said there about not being fulfilled. I think even little things can help you feel a bit more fulfilled.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, when people get to a place where they don't feel good about themselves, they don't like themselves. And you will never do something good for someone you don't like.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's back to the core. That has to be the core thing, really, isn't it? That, you deserve to feel well, that
Hmm.
you believe you deserve to feel well and to be treated well and to have energy and enjoyment from food rather than lethargy and sickness.
It's false pleasure. Like people even say this, have you had that? Oh my God. And like, where the frick do you make those sounds? What other room than the kitchen? So what's lacking? What's missing? And I don't mean sexual intimacy, but intimacy. The sharing of energy and being involved. Or they'll say it's a palatal orgasm. So false pleasure. It's taste replacing true pleasure.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. Tom, I've taken a ton of your time already. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sure you've been a big help to everyone that listened today. So I can't thank you enough. It was a great honor to have you on the show,
My pleasure.
and thanks so much, Tom.
It's my pleasure. Take care, Eva.
So there we have it. That was the last episode of the Happy Weight podcast for now. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, there's 2 courses I want to tell you quickly about. If you found the chat with Tom and I interesting and want to know more about hypnosis, you could look into my Happy Hypno Weight course. So it's a series of hypnosis recordings for you to listen and re-listen to in order to improve your relationship with food, your body, and remove the subconscious blocks you might have to letting go of weight. I also have my Love Food program, and this is not as hypnosis based. It has videos, worksheets, audios, and covers important aspects of both nutrition and mindset to help you with your long-term relationship with food and healthier weight. And of course, you can always work with me one-to-one in my 12-week Happy Weight program. So for more information on any of the above, look at my website. It's www.happyweight.ie. You can join me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at happyweight.ie or look up Aoife Dean. And if there's anything you would love me to cover, email me, DM me. I'd really love to hear from you. So thanks so much for listening. I really hope you got something out of these episodes and they helped you in some little way in your journey. So all the best, and I'll speak to you soon. Mwah.